Hey. So Jen Powter here, and it's Saturday night, January 4th. We're 4 days into a new year of a new decade, and I have pretty much spent the entire day editing my book called Diet Disruption. And I have a chapter, I've been going over and over this one chapter titled, It's Not Your Fault. And it's one of the very first chapters in my, well, I think it's like the fourth chapter in my book, which basically, first of all, I want to know if you agree or disagree with this, because what I have found in talking to women is there is so much shame and blame placed on a woman who is overweight. Like, there are so many women who tell me that people think they're lazy, or they get treated differently when they're overweight versus to having lost weight or when they were thinner. And is it your fault or not? Like, is it your fault that you're overweight? And I have a real strong opinion on this, and I'm going to share it in this Facebook Live because I think it matters, and I think it's something that doesn't get talked about enough. And for me, I don't think it's your fault. Like, I think that there is so much misinformation out there. I think that there is so much bad information out there. I think that a woman has been made to often feel so much shame and personal responsibility, and there's been a lack of compassion and knowledge, true knowledge about what it takes to either stay at your right weight or what it takes to actually lose weight in a healthy way. And by healthy way, I mean in a way that you're not having to rely on injections, really shitty low-calorie diets, eating fake food, any of the stuff that women do to lose weight in a quick way. I'm not talking about that. When I talk about healthy, I talk about losing weight in a way that you can trust. You're going to keep it off forever. Hey, Susan, hi. And so in this chapter, what I shared is that, like, no, man, it's not your fault, but it is your fault. Well, it's not even your fault. It will be a choice if you choose to stay overweight, because there are ways to do it where you can truly choose yourself and choose to be healthy inside and out. One of the things that I say over and over again is for an outer transformation to occur, for a transformation in your body, in your physical form to occur, an inner transformation has to occur first. And that often means knowing why you're overweight in the first place. When you start asking better questions, you actually start to find better answers, and you can start to find the real solutions to the problems. But often we're just staying on the, we're staying on the surface level stuff, and then we get frustrated. So in this chapter, and again, like, I spent the day editing this book, so it's on my mind, is, to me, there are three things at play. One is your metabolism has not caught up with how food is now produced. And when we take a look at how convenience foods and processed foods and fast foods and junk foods started to get manufactured in the 50s and 60s, 1950s and 60s, they were meant as literally occasional fare. But that was also the time that women were going more into the workforce, and these foods became very convenient and they tasted good, but they were not being created with your waistline in mind. They just weren't. Then over the, late 1980s, 90s, and early 2000s, everything got big. It was like Supersize me. You wanted to get good value for what you paid for. It was like the bigger, the better, and it was less than like an ordinary bag or a box. And the Supersize me, there's a book written and a movie made about that, right? The Supersize me phenomena, where big gulps and extra big gulps, and you could get the extra big fries for even less than like the regular size fries. Your metabolism's never caught up with that. They just didn't. And so now we're at a place where we've traded our health for convenience. We've traded our emotions, feeling them, for numbing them. We've done these things where now we're carrying extra weight on our bodies and we don't know what to do, because the dieting industry has now become a $70 billion industry. And I don't think it's your fault if you're overweight. I really don't. I think that there are so many factors at play, behaviorally, psychologically, even just trying to get by and survive, like having a busy career, tending to a family, working on your relationship. Like, sometimes food becomes the last thing that we want to prioritize or give our energy to or think about. But I can absolutely 100% promise you that if you choose to not change, then that is a personal responsibility and a choice. And if you have tried dieting before, hey Jane, hi, Happy New Year to you. If you've tried dieting before and have failed, what I want you to get is you haven't failed at weight loss. The tactic you've tried has failed you. The dieting methods out there are failing you, because not that you're a failure, and I say this in my book, you're not a failure. It's the methods that you're using. What you're learning is if they haven't worked for you, they're not gonna work. And no matter how hard you try at them, you probably won't be successful if you keep trying the same things. And so I'm a big proponent that sometimes we have to like call a spade and go, you know what I'm doing isn't working. So it doesn't mean I'm a failure. We depersonalize the result and instead we go, okay, what else could I do instead? Especially if you have hope, right? So the biggest thing that I find with women is that often women come to me when they have like a shred of hope left. It's like they've tried all these things, failure's been there, weights come off but come right back on again, and yet there's just this feeling of this can't be it. I don't want to stay in this body. This doesn't feel good. I know I'm not healthy. I'm afraid of how this is going to have an impact on my health or how I'm going to age in a healthy way, my vitality, the connection and intimacy I have in my relationship. Like, I don't want what I've got. I want something better. And as long as you've got that hope, then change is 100% possible for you. But it means you've got to be willing to let go of what you've done and start to look for new ways to create change in your life. And one of the things I'm going to talk about tomorrow is the dandelion approach. And again, this is a chapter in my book where I'm like, when we stop picking off the yellow dandelion head and you actually start to go down deep, you know what I mean by the dandelion head? You know, when you like see your lawn and there's like a dandelion and you think you can just like pull the dandelion head off and it's going to go away, but it doesn't. It comes back and there's like 5 more dandelions. That's like weight loss. Weight loss does not happen until you get to the root, until you excavate the root of what is really going on for you. And sometimes it means recognizing that you've been preoccupied. You've been too busy to plan. You've been too busy to think about your health. You've been too busy hoping to do the next quick, easy, fad-like thing because you're desperate. And what I can tell you is like, let that be like so 2019 or 2018 or 2017. Let that be what you did in the last decade. And instead, let's start to disrupt the diet industry. Let's start to disrupt the way of thinking about health and weight loss in your own mind so that you don't fall right back into the same habits and patterns that didn't get you to where you want to go, and instead really start to seek true change. And the way you do that, I want to know the way you do that. The way you do that is to start to ask these kind of questions. And if you're watching this right now and if you're at a place where like New Year's resolutions, you kind of want to make them, and maybe you did, but maybe you've already broken them. I've already had like 4 people message me saying, I made a resolution on the 1st and I've already broken it. This isn't boding well for me. And yeah, because often we're trying to just hit repeat on shit that doesn't work. And instead it's like, get out your journal and take out your pen and paper and ask yourself, what drives me to eat when I'm not hungry in the first place? What is it, second question, what is it I'm hoping to get? What feeling do I get when I eat, even when I'm full? And what's one change I can make tomorrow? That's your homework tonight. I love doing these Facebook Lives at night because I don't know about you, but back when I was at my heaviest, night times were the worst. I'd wake up and my mornings would be good, my afternoon, but it was my evenings that were my witching hours. I did a Facebook Live about that a couple days ago. It was like the hours between 8 a.m. and 11 kicked my ass. And it was the wine that I drank, the chocolate chips that I grabbed out of the pantry, the cheese. I would go into my fridge feeling like something to eat, but not quite sure what. I'd close the fridge, go to the pantry, look in it, close that, go back to the fridge. Can anybody relate? Just give me a thumbs up if you can, because it feels crazy making and you're not even necessarily hungry, but there's a void or an emptiness and you want to fill it. And whatever is lacking in your life emotionally, you will attempt to try to fill it with food. And so when we go a little bit deeper than just like, I'm not going to eat this and I'm not going to do that, I'm going to move like this, and you actually start to ask deeper questions of yourself, you will find the answers. So many women, by the time they're in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, have dumbed down their own intuition and self-wisdom for so many reasons. Oh, my computer just dumbed down. And so Yeah, Michelle, awesome. That's a great way to think about it. Small changes each day is your resolution. Yes, that is it. So many times in January, women are going from 0 to 100 and then they fall right back to 0 again and feel like a failure. I can't see the rest of your comment, but when I'm done this, I'm going to read it and I'll reply to you, Michelle, because when one change that you stick to consistently, even if it's just asking yourself one new question every day, like, why I'm about to eat this. Do I really want it? Do I even like how it tastes? Like I had a client who called me once on a Friday at 10 p.m. and she was in her pantry eating stale marshmallows. She doesn't even like marshmallows, but she was in her pantry eating stale marshmallows. And I was like, okay, let's get yourself out of there. Take yourself to bed, right? You just need to go to bed. She was tired. And so, tonight, Saturday night, you've got Sunday ahead of you. Like, here's the thing. It does not matter how badly you have slipped today. What matters is what you do next. And for so many women, chasing Mondays is part of their dieting pattern, right? It's like we need to interrupt that pattern. Instead of staying off the wagon for days or weeks or months on end, it's like you give yourself some compassion and go, okay, I slipped. And now what matters most is what happens in this next 10 minutes. What do I get to choose that's going to allow me to feel in integrity with what I want most for my health, my body, myself, my weight? And choose that. And don't, the punishing, the guilt, blame, shame, guilt, regret cycle, skip it. It does not serve you. In fact, when I'm doing these Facebook Lives every single day, so I know I'm going to get to a point where I'll teach you the emotional eating cycle. If you want to learn that, please message me or put it in the comments and be like, yeah, I want to know that. Sometimes I think that what I teach isn't interesting, but it's actually super helpful. And the emotional eating cycle tells us that we'll start to be quote unquote good, and then we do all this stuff and then something happens, we crack under the pressure, and there'll be whatever, you can call it a binge eating episode, or maybe a slip, or maybe you quote unquote fall off the wagon. And then you feel so bad about slipping that you eat more stuff to help you feel better about the fact that you just slipped, and then you feel guilty and like regret about that. And it's just this downward spiral of food choices, of negativity, of feeling bad about yourself, of feeling like shame. And I want you to stop that. Like, honestly, I believe that this is such a critical time of year for not just doing right with your behavior, but thinking really good, kind things about yourself. And the kinder you can be, you cannot hate yourself thin and healthy. You just can't. I meant that, in my video last night, I talked about my journal and how I just write such horrible things about myself, how I felt about myself, my body. I was lazy, I was a fat ass, like just such awful stuff to myself. And what I know is it hurts. It hurts you. It hurts you. It does not inspire you. It does not motivate you. Colette, oh my God, it's been a million years. Hi. And so instead, tonight's a night where you get to make a different choice for yourself. You get to ask more powerful questions. You get to dive a little bit deeper into figuring out the real answers about what's going on for you. And then tomorrow, you get to start fresh. Doesn't matter. Even tonight, whatever you've done, whatever you're doing, let it go and choose the next best choice for you. And this is how you get to do it. It's one small change, one better question, one better decision at a time. And sometimes you're going to have to recommit to yourself over and over. I sure do, right? That's beyond what I'm going to talk about tonight, but I just wanted to pop on and say, listen, Saturday nights, whether you've been out or you've had a busy day or you've been like away on vacation and you're coming home and all this stuff that can just pile up, it's easy to get off track, and it can be just as easy to get back on track again. So hopefully that gives you some inspiration. Yes, plan. You spent the day meal planning, shopping, and chopping with the goal of having all good things handy and quick. Okay, so perfect. And I was thinking of this in the car. Like, if you don't have a plan to succeed, if you don't have a plan to implement, then basically you're planning to fail. Like, without a plan to take you to your destination and to help you reach your goals, you don't have a plan, which means you're operating on default and old habits. Your old habits created you exactly where you're at right now. So a new plan will allow you to have new habits, which will allow you to create something different. And that's all we are. We're the sum of our habits. Change one little thing every day and be consistent, and you will change. which I think is incredibly inspiring and motivating. So have a super night, have a super Saturday, and I will be hopefully back. Well, I will be back on Facebook Live tomorrow, hopefully a little bit earlier. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching with me. Bye.